What's going on, guys? So I just got back from YCS Niagara, and although I didn't top the main event, I did manage to win a regional while I was there. And I got a cool mat and a cool deck box, probably the coolest deck box and mats that they've had in a while, so I'm actually very pleased with that. I did end up playing Centur-ion for the main event and for the regional. A lot of you have probably already seen Pack's list, so I am part of the inner circle on his Metafy, so I would definitely check that out if you're looking to become a better player and definitely be in the know on the latest deck choices and things like that. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have played this for this event, and I probably wouldn't have won that regional, just being completely honest, because I probably would have played some other stupid deck, Anyways, so definitely check his video out if you want the 10-0 top 32 YCS list. But if you just want the regional list that I played, which was a little bit different, I played a little bit different. I don't like just completely net decking other people and copying lists because I don't feel like maybe it's a pride thing, an ego thing. I don't know. I just don't like doing that. But maybe I should. But anyways, let's get right into the deck profile and let's go. Look, I have to say, this is one of the best mats that have came out in a long time. I really like them. Let's start with the main deck first. So, first off, we're going to go with 3 Primera. This is your best one-card starter in the deck. 3 Trudea. Funny enough, both of these end on basically the same board. However, this one is a little bit better at times to open because it is a tuner. So it helps you with your Bestial plays and stuff like that. One of the Gargoyles, keep in mind this is a dragon, so it works really well with your Bestial engine. Same with Centur-ion Atri. There's combos where you can basically draw 2 cards off of this card alone, because as long as you have an Emblema card and a Centur-ion card in the graveyard, you get to draw a card. So typically you'll special summon one on your turn and then special summon one on your opponent's turn. For our Centur-ion spells, we have 3 Emblema Oath. This is also a 1-card starter. However, it's not as good as a 1-card. Not as good as a starter. Not as good of a starter as some of the other ones. All right, now for our spells. 3 Emblema Oath. This card is a starter now. Probably not your best starter, but it's still okay. The issue with it is it does lock you with the monster that you place. But that usually doesn't come up, and it doesn't usually become that big of a problem, usually. But it can. So it's just not the best starter. 3 Stand-Up Centur-ion. This card is your deck. Like, this deck, it really relies on this field spell. I'm not going to say it's 100% relying on it, but it does heavily rely on it. And then your 4th copy, I just go ahead and consider that engine. For your, not necessarily garnets, their engine requirements: 1 Wake Up, 1 Bonds, and 1 Phalanx. So, as I touched on already, I basically play the same list as Pack. Other than a few cards, he chose to play 2 of these. Probably should have listened. However, I didn't want to just net deck. I'm not big into that. And I always like to build a deck, the way I think is best. But sometimes when somebody's a better deck builder than you, you should listen to them. So looking back, I would have played probably his exact list. But yeah, that's it for the Centur-ion engine. And if you notice something, it's very small. So it's only like 9, hold on, let's see. Yeah, 9, 10, 11, 14, and 17. It's only like 17 cards. If you count terraforming, 18. So, very small engine for what it can do. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So it allows you to play lots of non-engine. So, all right, let's go into the non-engine. So we're going to do 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, 3 Imperm, 2 Ogre, 2 Mourner, 2 Ghost Bell. I do want to talk about the Ghost Bell. Looking back, the Ghost Bell was probably a bad choice. I probably would have rather had 3 Mourner just to help see that. Or maybe more Bystials. However, this does come up in the Snake Eye matchup. It does come up in the U-Bell matchup. And even in Tempai, sometimes this card alone can keep them from OTKing you. So that's why I chose to play it. And these cards are hard once per turn. And so the more I'm playing the game, here lately I've been deciding, like, if a card's hard once per turn, you know, do I really want that many copies of it in my deck? If it's not a starter, or if it's not a really good hand trap, like Ash Blossom or Joyous Spring, or when, like last format, when Nibiru was so powerful before the Azumina came out, you know, it was probably worth it to play 3 of those. So I think it's justifiable. But I would probably cut the Mourner looking back. But yeah, I mean, it worked out. Mourner throws people off. Nobody plays around Mourner. If you, I mean, at least you're not walking into something like that. Like, people can play around Nib, they can play around Ash, but they can't usually play around Mourner. I mean, they can, but they're not gonna. So for our Bystial engine, 3 Lubellion, I cannot tell you how good the Bystial engine is. And this is where, so 1 Mag, 1 Worm, 1 Baldrake. So looking back, I'd cut one of the Mourners, I mean one of the Bells, Ghost Bells, and play another Serenir, because there's certain situations where you can pitch something off your hand and then get access to Lubellion that way. Send your Dragon or your Centur-ion Gargoyle, that's what I mean. Because it just so happens that Centur-ion Gargoyle is a level 6 or higher dragon. Also, the Branded Regained, of course. This, believe it or not, these 7 cards are so powerful on their own. When I was wanting to play this deck before, I was wanting to play the Horus engine. The issue with the Horus engine is it doesn't allow for you to make Synchro 10s, which are very powerful still. We still have Chaos Angel, Qing Ying, and Dissipator. With the Horus engine, you just can't do that without playing a bunch of other Garnets, like a Cell Synchron or, yeah, I think it's a Cell, whichever one, the level 2 that just special summons. So you end up having to play like 11 or 12 cards that aren't that good on their own. Like, all of these cards on their own do something. You know, if this gets stopped, like, this is really good Ash bait. I can't tell you how many people Ash this. Like, okay, now I just play my actual deck. So, it's so good. Now for the extra deck. My extra deck, I really liked it. There was just a couple cards that I couldn't find before the event. And, you know, I just kind of put filler in there. So 1 Premier Promise. In the future, I still think 1's good. But I'd probably play 2 just because I have the room. Plus, it's an interruption on your opponent's turn. So when you have weird board states where you have 2 4s on board and like the only play you have is to make a Synchro 8, this is a really good card because it can destroy one of yours and it can destroy one of their cards. However, if you have Auxilla up and you destroy one of your spell and traps, like one of your face-up spell or traps, it won't work because it protects from destruction. So you still get the effect, though. You still get the effect of Primera to destroy their card, but it doesn't destroy yours. So, pretty cool interaction. 2 Legacia. Man, this card is just a big beater that it destroys and draws. It's actually a custom card. I'm surprised that it's generic. It's actually crazy that it's generic. Which in this deck, it's never really going to come up because all your tuners are Centur-ion, but it's crazy to me how this card's generic. So, Centur-ion Auxilla, it's an engine requirement. Most of your combos are going to rely on this. Plus, you want to end on this because he protects your back row. And you'll see in the side deck why that's important. For your Synchro 10s, Chaos Angel, Dissipator, and Qing Ying. These are the best Synchro 10s left in the game. It's not disputable. Properly made Chaos Angel is so hard to out for a lot of decks. Dissipator allows for just a lot of control. It's a very good control card. Maybe you can't OTK them, but you can make this, have a negate set up, have a big, huge body. I mean, 3,500 beat stick, 3,500 beat stick, and usually this is going to be at least 3,500 beat stick. It's crazy. Turn 3 with this deck is insane. For our 12s, we're going to have Crimson Dragon, Cosmic Blazar, another Cosmic Blazar. Guys, when you set up double Cosmic Blazar, I'm just going to be honest with you, your opponent's most likely going to scoop. But this card's crazy. I had an interaction where I made 2 of them, and he was able to out them. He had weird cards that were able to force it. Like, he had Talents, and then he had some other card that, like, forced me to respond to it. It was like a card that took control, 2 take control cards. So I have to respond. So both of them are banished. They're both coming back in end phase. And then he activates Feather Duster. And I had Auxilla up. And I'm like, okay. And he just kind of looks at me. I'm like, yeah, it won't work. And he's like, oh. And then I think he just scooped after that. One little level 8 that I did play, which I would replace and just make 2 of these, is Omega. Because in certain games, like, kind of games that I was already winning, but I just wanted to make sure, like, you know, they were on less resources, I would do the Omega line. Sometimes you can get to a Dissipator Omega Hand Loop. It's very uncommon, so I would change this either to Scarlight or another copy of Primus. Typhon, in those hand trap control games, hand trap bestial control games you get into sometimes, with an engine like this that is rather small, you know, sometimes you do run into situations where you only draw hand traps, but there's times, you know, you summon a Veiler, make Typhon, back it up with 2 or 3 more hand traps in your hand, a bestial, and it can just really come up. IP into SP. This is something that comes up quite a bit in the deck. When your bestial engine's in rotation, or you end up with just extra bodies, it's really good. And then the one other card that I decided to play was Spheres. There were so many games that I won just off of bestials, so it's really good. You know, you set up a Dissipator and this, and it's just like, it automatically becomes like 3 interruptions. And if you got Regained and then a couple hand traps in hand, it's just really hard for them to overcome that. And at worst, it's really hard for them to OTK you. So you're just really safe. All right, let's look at the side deck. Again, my side deck is going to be very similar to the one that Pac played. He's the one that kind of put everybody in the inner circle on the deck lockdown. But he chose to play like more engine cards in the side. And looking back, maybe I should have, or maybe I should have played a little bit more going second. I don't really know. Anti-Spell, Skill Drain, and Tikaboo. These cards do nothing to us after we establish a board. So, also, our opponent can't destroy them. I mean, it's unreal. Like, it's actually unreal. 3 deck lockdown, and this is one of the benefits of being in the inner circle. I was able to get access to, you know, this idea. Like, for some reason, I know this is good. I know this is a great card, but I never would have thought to put it in the deck. And I never really would have thought to, like, hey, this deck plays around it really well. Once we establish a board, like, we can play around deck lockdown, like, easy. 3 Perulia and 3 Fuelos. My experience with Fuelos was terrible because the one time, like, I really resolved both of them, I just kept drawing into engine, and it was against Tier Limits, and Tier Limits was, this was in the actual YCS, not in the regional that I won, but I just kept drawing engine and no hand traps against Tier, so it was just like irrelevant, because this engine is not one where you can grind through with engine. You really got to have the hand traps. And I did choose to play Droll, which actually would have came up in the YCS against Mermails. I sided like all 3 of these cards in. I mean, all 9. And I didn't see one of them, so didn't even see one. So any one of these probably would have kept me from losing that game. But unfortunately, that's just not the way the cookie crumbled. But anyways, that's my my side deck. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you on the next one.